we're going to be at a point where everybody's going to have a token and everybody's going to be on chain and everybody's going to be a creator because creating on the internet has the lowest barriers and the highest potential.
This person you just heard was Jenil Thakker, the founder of Coinvise. Just to give you an idea, for me this application embodies one of the future steps of society. We are going to hear from Jenil himself what it is, why he made it, and of course, his way of starting out. This is Innected. Welcome abroad, and thanks a lot for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I really wanted to know a little bit more about your company now, what it's doing, what your application is for, and everything. So welcome, and you get the word.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. My company helps people on the internet, individuals and groups of individuals, create their own token. It's essentially an infrastructure for operating and building communities on Ethereum. The way we sort of describe it in a simple way is that we're Stripe for social tokens or personal or community-owned tokens, as we call it. We call them social tokens. So we're sort of building an infrastructure for anybody to create a token and build incentives around them so that they can not only monetize, but they can use the token to incentivize behavior and increase collaboration between the community. So I can probably give you the story of how it all started.
Yeah, it would be wonderful. Absolutely.
I studied CS, computer science. In college, I really wanted to go to Stanford and I wanted to do a PhD and a master's. So in my sophomore year, I started doing research because that was the thing that you needed to do. You needed good research and you needed good GPA to get there. And I was very wrong and naive at the time, and we'll get to that. But at that time, when I was 18, it felt like the right thing to do. So I looked for a research job and I applied. I sent an email to every single CS and computer engineering professor in the department saying that, hey, I'm looking for this job. One of them actually interviewed me, and then they gave me the job of a research assistant. And one of the first things they told me to do was go research on and try to understand what this Ethereum thing is. And that was the start in about 2016 when I got into learning more about it. And it only got more interesting as we went forward. Then the professor I was working with was like, okay, why don't you actually participate in a few hackathons, because that's the best way to learn. So I participated in a few ETH global hackathons. I learned how to code Solidity, really spent all of my time in doing that. And slowly as I moved forward and sort of learn more, I realized that you don't really need credentials. Credentials don't mean anything. If my ultimate goal is to build good technology, I don't need to get a master's or a PhD. I can just do that while building things. Eventually, as I moved forward, I came to the understanding that, okay, there's no excuses here. I'll work for a little bit and I'll try to learn from as many people as possible, and then I'll build my own company. My professor ended up co-founding a company called Zero Chain, which was building a decentralized AWS. So I joined there and I worked for them for a little bit. Briefly, I also got to work with a guy called Fabian Vogelsteller, who was building Luxo in Germany. And they were working on this idea of reversible ICO, which was an interesting concept because at the time there were a lot of scam ICOs and it was a good problem to work on. So I did that for a little bit and I had a conversation with him. And Fabian was the co-creator of Web3.js, and Fabian also created the ERC20 token standard. So he was really one of the core people who built Ethereum protocol. And one of the reasons why developers are building these applications is because of his creation of the Web3.js library. I saw that and I had a conversation with him, and he said that the next wave of next chapter of crypto is going to be led by consumers, DAOs, and individuals owning these tokens. I personally really wanted to work in DeFi at the time, but it seemed like NFTs and this concept of building a social network was the best way to scale it to the next billion people. One of the things that I love crypto for is that it decentralizes power and it gives people freedom. So I started building this idea of a social network. And in my head, it was a network that was operated by 5 years down the line, it would be a world full of DAOs that are building these sort of culture, and they have their own mission. And it's really like building a community, but it's run by individuals where there's no hierarchy. Everybody has a say and everybody has equal stake. And I saw that world being run by DAOs. But starting a DAO is you need to know how to do treasury, you need to know how to write a proposal. It was complicated. Even today, it's a bit complicated for anybody that's new. So I discovered this idea of social tokens where any individual, so we had sovereign protocols, and now we had sovereign protocols, and now we could have like sovereign individuals where any individual could have their token. And that was your first way of bringing your activities on chain. It could be monetization, or it could be sending and receiving payments. But my idea is that with social tokens, you build a community, you do a token, you send it to your supporters, and over the period of 6 7 months or however long it takes, you're slowly moving your activities on chain, and then before you know it, you're a DAO. So it was a better way to achieve that goal in a simple way and still bring it to mainstream. So what we're doing at Coinvise is that we started out with anybody can create a token for free on Ethereum. They can have their own token. You can name it whatever you want to call it. It could be my name Jenil, like it could be any token that represents individuals or groups of individuals. And then that token represented some kind of ownership in that group of people or individuals. So imagine having like something like an Elon Musk token where you can bet on the individual itself instead of companies. And that's a good way for aligning through the success. If you're a Justin Bieber fan, you get successful as Justin Bieber does too, because right now there's no real way to quantify that kind of relationship. So tokens are not just money, but they unlock equity in individuals. So anybody can create a token, send and receive them on Coinvise, and then build incentives. Like you can incentivize behavior or participation through, like you can give out rewards, you can set up bounties for getting work done for your token. So there were a lot of these nuances that we built around incentives, but really the core is that anybody can create their token, manage it, and send and receive them. And that's how we started Coinvise with. And today we're operating on Ethereum and Polygon. And that's sort of been my journey.
Oh, that's super interesting. Like, what got you into the idea that tokens could work, and like there was interest for tokens?
So it wasn't more like there was interest for tokens. It was more like this is a requirement. Like we will enter this society of it's called the Token Society. There's a great article called The Token Society by George Poleg. Any individual will be an investable asset, where if you're getting hired for a company, people say that they're investing in talent, but there's no real way of quantifying that. I mean, they're paying you salary, but there's no real way of quantifying that. But every individual is going to have a market cap, and every individual is going to be an investable asset, because we constantly create on the internet. And even with the quarantine, we've started to realize that creating on the internet is much more accessible and profitable because you get access to a larger global arena, and you can really build your audience globally. One of the examples that I just gave yesterday was that Facebook introduced this idea of businesses where you can sell on their marketplace. So it was a blend between social and work, where you transacted with people that you didn't trust. Either you're buying a laptop from someone, if you're buying even a car from someone, if you're buying event tickets from someone. We already see these kinds of things happening. We already see people paying on OnlyFans, or we already see people paying to their favorite streamers on YouTube. We're already seeing that blend between social and work. But what crypto unlocks is ownership in somebody's success, or ownership on individuals, and everybody becomes this individual like asset that can be invested in. And all of these relationships are now quantifiable, and nobody can take you down. It's pseudo anonymous, so you don't have to reveal your identity, which means that you're represented by your Ethereum address, your wallet address, and that's it. You build merit based on your participation and ownership in these communities, not just on your profile and where you're from and all of these metadata that you just give away for free to these companies. But the core of it really is economic freedom. You're really building your own economy when you do your token, because now you have sort of people that support you, and all of a sudden they're now your community, and everybody's aligned because they're sort of holding ownership in you. So if you get successful, everybody around you does too. So that's what it does. It decentralizes power. So you don't give power to Facebook, you give power back to individuals, and you give people economic freedom.
No, it's very interesting. It's really interesting as a concept. And no, actually not like think of it. It's really different from the standard.
Yeah.
Is the person who is sort of tokenizing himself, is he losing something by doing this?
I mean, it's, again, we'll go back to the internet. You can really tweet anything, and you can really create anything on YouTube. You don't have much to lose, but you have a lot to gain if you do it right. It creates its own version of inequalities, because certain people get successful, certain people sort of are in tail end of things where the competition is brutal because everyone has equal access to these things. All you need is internet. But tokens, it's very similar. It's almost acts like the internet, but it sort of quantifies every relationships, and the exponential growth that you will see with sort of like your community and growing it is much better than just creating on the internet, because there's no sort of like, if I'm helping you, there's no sort of way for you to grow your community. So that's how I think about it, is it's really like the internet.
Just to go a little bit through the process, what would it take for a person to tokenize himself or a company of his or a work of his?
Yeah, so it's fairly simple. You would put in the token name and symbol, and that's it. You would select a framework that suits you. So if it's a personal token, what you could do is, hey, like if you join our Discord, you can earn 50 tokens. You can, bet on my live, or like what I'm going to do. So if I wake up at 5 a.m., token holders can sort of get those kinds of access to weird experiences that you can create. If you want your neighbor to keep the music down at night, you can reward them tokens for that. So there could be like these weird use cases that you can do with it, or you can do even a human IPO where you can fundraise, which one of the initial examples of Alex Masmej did, where he fundraised about $20,000 through his personal token. It was more like a human IPO offering. If you're creating a personal token, or if you're creating a community token, if you're creating a DAO, you would pick the framework and the use case that fits you. And then based on that, you would just create the token. It takes less than 30 seconds. All you need is a wallet, and which is pretty simple to get. And then you have your token creator, you can manage it. Then you can be like, okay, now I can create a Discord, and I can integrate like a Discord bot for sending and receiving it, or directly do it from Coinvise. And then you can create like sort of rewards and bounties. So if you contribute and if you create content for me, I'll give you 400 tokens. If you do that for me, I'll give you 500 tokens. If you retweet this tweet or follow me, I'll give you 50 tokens. So you can really create your own community and brand around what you want to do, and then sort of grow, and that you're sort of betting on individuals instead of platforms, and that's the token economy.
Okay, this is going to be the last digression in this direction.
Yeah.
But I'm super interested. So what does owning a token mean from a token holder perspective? So what does the person gain back from holding a token?
Most people think of tokens as money, but it's actually not that financial. What tokens unlock is ownership. And what that ownership means is that if it's a group of people, you get a say in any kind of decision making. So let's say I'm a 37% holder of Mattia token, then I get a say in like what your direction is, or what you're going to do next, or at least advise on it or weigh on it. And I get to unlock experiences. So you can be like, if you hold X amount of these tokens, you can get to come on my podcast and you can get one-on-one advice from me. One of an interesting example was a lawyer that did his token. And if you own or have ownership in his token, you get legal advice. Or if you are somebody who's doing content, running a newsletter, if you are sort of a token holder, you get access to premium news or premium content that is only available to them, or jump on Clubhouse and ask questions to them. So it unlocks experiences, and it unlocks sort of ownership and future success. So if you get successful, the token itself is going to be, going to be successful. And that sort of, aligns me because I'm a token holder.
So you can sort of invest in the value which a person is going to provide later in the future, right?
Right. So you're really investing in not the money or speculative aspect of it, but really you're investing in the individual's like success and what they create. Like you're extracting value through that token, right? And that value in this particular example could be premium content. And it's really, so you can change the token like amount, or like you can make it fixed that whatever the token amount is going to be, it has to be attributed to, let's say, $20 a month. And you can do that. But the core idea there is that you're unlocking sort of this idea of not just premium content, but whoever's contributing to that content, it's not just to your team. Now you can incentivize content from your community itself. And I'll give an example. We work with a community called Global Coin Research, which was a news company that was working on this idea of decentralized journalism. So instead of them like writing news on their platform, they're crowdsourcing content directly from their community of, like, say, 10,000, 20,000 people, and they're getting paid to create content. So instead of the team of like 5 or 10 people creating content, all of a sudden 10,000 people are creating content. So the token is leveraged to increase access for people. I mean, you could say it's more like Fiverr, where you're sort of giving work for US dollars, but this is not money, this is ownership. So as you work for them, you have more ownership in GCR. It's sort of like issuing equity, which unlocks not just money, it unlocks like different experiences. So you can get access to whatever deals or whatever startups they're investing in. You can access to their premium newsletter. You can access to their community calls that they do. A lot of these other things that you can architect on your own.
It's super interesting, and it's sort of painful for me to try to move away from this. So I will ask you another question about
please.
Isn't it risky for like extremely huge companies or like people with extremely high capital to get into others, or like people who tokenize themselves and sort of literally own them or like own all the content they're going to produce later in the future?
So the creator itself who tokenizes themselves can sort of have control over how they're giving out ownership in many cases, right? You can buy the token, but a lot of times you can make it non-transferable, which means that you have control over who gets to own this token. So the core idea is decentralizing power and economic freedom, and you have freedom when the power is sort of decentralized and the ownership is sort of decentralized. So you can sort of do that in the case of tokens where you can have control over who you're giving out access to. Protocols have been doing this for a while now. So if you're looking at Uniswap or a bunch of these other protocols, they have their own tokens. They call it like token farming or airdrop, retroactive airdrop farming. Really the ways is like do work for us and get paid tokens. And this idea of being able to earn and by working for different protocols, but now we're changing that aspect into you work for different individuals. Now I don't have to work for a company. That's the future of work. I can work for multiple individuals that I like. I can work with my friends and then make a living out of it. And you're working for these multiple DAOs, and that's the future of work as we see it, because contributions and value exchange is all quantifiable and has a price to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like philosophical at a point.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
this is something we're gonna see normalized a lot. We're gonna be at a point where everybody's gonna have a token and everybody's gonna be on chain and everybody's gonna be a creator, because creating on the internet has the lowest barriers and the highest potential. So people are gonna be more creating on the internet, and the best way to create is to do it with complete and utter freedom. Sort of eliminate competition, because when you build a token, you're creating your own economy and you have sort of power and control over that economy and how that's distributed. So I think we're gonna be in an interesting world. Technology is gonna help us become more free, and it's gonna reshape our conventional understandings.
And so the huge question is, if you were to start over now, so like maybe you're talking with a little brother or someone who is still in high school, like maybe first, second year of high school, what would you do? Like, how would you approach life from there?
I would learn how to code, learn how to write smart contracts, but just learn how to code, because that's going to be the language of the internet. And most people will find their careers on the internet. You learn in school, when you start, you learn how to read and write in English, because that's the language you communicate with. And that's the language you use in the workplace, right? But today, if you want to build a career, the language you communicate is mostly with computers, because that's what you spend your most time with. So learn how to code, similar to how you learn how to read and write. Be curious, like find what you're passionate about, whatever that is. Find your purpose of what you want to do and live a life full of purpose. Don't sort of try to build a template resume. Try to live a life of purpose. It could be crypto, it could be research biology, it could be doing aerospace engineering. Live a life with purpose and know how to code. You'll probably end up in a good place and build great things and make lifelong friends, and just don't take things too seriously. You know, life is short, so try to do as many things early as possible, because I try to make excuses that when I'm going to be 25, 27, I'll get some experience and then start a company. But it was all excuses. There's no age. So if you want to do something, just start doing early. You'll probably end up in a good place.
Now, just a personal question before we close this out. How will you go about money?
That was one of the goals at Coinvise is that we create opportunities for people to work. You can sort of start making money in crypto. If you're a developer, you can go to Gitcoin. If you're just, if you don't know how to code, you can go to Coinvise and you can see all their bounties and you can be like, okay, I can design a logo for them, or I can moderate somebody's Discord and actually get paid. So these are some like very small ways to get started. A better way to get started is probably building something yourself. This era of like 99% consume and 1% create. So try to build something. It could be like writing your own newsletter. It could be trying to work with a team of people that are building something. So let's say if you want to do marine biology, try to work with a group of people that are working in that research area and try to see how you can be useful to them. If you want to do, let's say, code, try to work with people that are building, like, let's say, a startup, or build something yourself. I think that's the best way to learn. So you could start with smaller things like contributing and earning in crypto. That's how I paid my rent in college, was that I used to write code and I used to get paid in crypto, and that's how I paid my rent. So I used to do those little things, and then I built my own like GPT-3 product, and then I had subscribers, and then that was my income. So you could really have like at least 100 people that use that product, and you would probably make more money than doing a job, and that's freedom. So learn how to build things. whatever that looks like for you. So I think that's going to be, but I think the next wave is going to be learning how to build a community. So if you are really good at writing on the internet, communicating on the internet, try to build a community around yourself. It could be creating videos, it could be writing content, it could be giving advice, it could be like auditing contracts, like, or giving legal advice, whatever that looks like. That's how I made money. It could be completely different. I think doing a job, there's a saturation point where you can only make so much. But if you really want to go above and beyond, it's nice to work on something that A, you like, that you find purpose in, and B, you can make money on it. I think crypto will create opportunities for people to earn, but also create. So you can build your own community and you can monetize and have your own personal market cap. And that could be a way to fund yourself, or you can build your own company. So there's many ways. It's just finding what you like.
Thanks a lot. Really, thanks a lot. We'll meet you in the Discord. So we invite every person who comes on the podcast to our Discord, just because Discord is the easiest way we have to communicate as of now. And have a good day. Thanks a lot. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you reached till here, let me know by writing in the comments, Dans Macabre. We'll meet in the Discord and have a good time.